Very well, guys. Now, before we finish chapter 1, I want to do one final exercise to kind of go over all of the things that we've done, and we're eventually going to be using this asset for other things that I want to show you here inside of Marbles. So we're going to be doing this, a very simple sandbag, and it might seem like a very simple thing, but there's actually a couple of extra tools that we're going to be using to generate the result that we see right here. So let's jump into Marble Designer, and it's going to be fairly easy. I'm going to start here with my 2D pattern window, and I'm going to create a small pattern right around there. Let me turn on Karnak just for the sake of it. There we go. So when we grab this element right here, we have, of course, a couple of options. We can just duplicate this, but I want to show you something called linked editing. So if I grab this guy right here and I press Control B instead of Control C, Control V, what's going to happen is I'm going to duplicate this element, and then we're going to have two new, or another layer, of course, but these guys are connected. So whatever I do to one of these guys, the other one is also going to obey, which is really, really handy because we can just save ourselves a couple of minutes or seconds by just stitching things when they're linked together. You can remove this linked editing at any point if you just right click and go here to remove linked editing. And if you remove it, no worries. If it's the same pattern, you can just right click and do again, apply linked editing, symmetric pattern with sewing. There we go. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to do a segment sewing from this side to this side right here. Or actually it's from this side to this side right here. If it's inverted, remember, make sure that it's straight. There we go. And then we're going to go from this side over. Oh, actually, it's already there. See that? Sorry. See that? That's what's happening. Thanks to the linked editing, if I do it on one side, it's going to be on the other side as well. Now, I'm going to go over here to segment sewing again, and we're going to sew from here to here. And as you can see, it's going to sew the same thing on the other side. So if we simulate, this is just pretty much like a pillowcase, right? Without the pillow in the inside. And the first thing I want to talk about is pressure. Pressure is another attribute that we can manage or change inside of our property editor. And if you select this guy right here and we go to this pressure option, we can select how much pressure we want. It's literally like if we were inflating it with air, so it will make it puff out. Now, one very important thing about this, the pressure will always be positive towards the white or the normal size of the object. Remember, the normal is the size that these polygons are facing or pointing to. So if we want to inflate this pillow, we need to make sure that both elements have positive pressure. It is possible to have negative pressure. If by any reason one of your elements is pointing or both of them are pointing in the same direction, let's say they're pointing both like this, then you're probably going to have positive on this one and negative on this one so that you puff it out. Otherwise, both are going to shoot up and the object is going to disappear into oblivion. So over here, we're going to go again, grab both of these guys, and let's set a pressure of, let's say, 3. And I'm going to hit enter. And as you can see, when I do that, the little bag right here inflates and we get this very nice puffy effect. I would say 3 is a good number because it allows me to modify the shape of the sack a little bit and get a couple of extra wrinkles. If we increase the pressure too much, for instance, if we go to 10, the pressure is going to be so big that what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to bend this element. It's automatically going to try to recover its position. You could, though, if you like having this super smooth effect, you could move it like this and just press a space bar. And if you just solidify it like this, if you freeze the simulation at this point, you can definitely export this as an asset and then just do the retopology, which, by the way, we're going to be doing retopology later on here as well. However, for this particular exercise, I actually want to make sure that this is set to 3 only. There we go. So once we have this, the next thing that I want to do is I want to create, as you can see here on the example, the little flappy area where you tie a knot and fill the whole bag. Because right now, again, this kind of looks like a pillow, but I wouldn't expect this to be this way if we were building a bunker. I want to see the little extra tail at the very end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the simulation. We're going to go to our patterns, and the first thing we need to do is we need to decide at what point on this pattern are we going to have the cut, right? So I'm going to select this edge right here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do this option called offset as internal line. We've used this before. I'm going to offset this by, let's say, 200 or 200 millimeters sounds good. I'm going to hit OK. And what's going to happen is, yes, we're going to have this line over here. As you can see, the line is on the other side on this thing because of the mirror thing. So this is a point where just destroying the linked editing might be a good idea. So I'm going to remove the linked editing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, select this line right here and this line over here. Right click, and we're going to do an offset as internal line, 200 millimeters, hit OK. And as you can see, both of the lines are going to be on the same place. Now, selecting both lines, we don't need to sew, we just want to select them. I'm going to right click again, and we're going to do an offset as internal line. Now it's just going to be very small, like 50 millimeters. Okay, so not super big, maybe 30 millimeters, and hit OK. And as you can see, this is going to give us a nice cut right here. The problem is that the cut is not going in the exact same direction. No worries. This is why, again, it's very useful to just grab this one. Let's do again, offset this internal line, hit OK. And then this one, right click, offset this internal line. And if this happens to you where the line is offsetting to a different direction, you can just reverse the direction depending on where it's supposed to go. So there we go. And as you can see, now we got the band. Once we have this band, we're going to cut it. So I'm going to grab this band right here, this band right here, this band right here, and this band right here, right click, and we're going to do a cut and sew, which of course the cut and sew will destroy the connection that we previously had, but it will keep all of the other attachment points, right? So the attachments to the sides right here and everywhere, they're going to be completely the same. On this side right here, I'm going to go to edit sewing. I'm going to grab this one right here. I'm going to delete it. I don't want to have any element right here. And actually, this new pattern, this is a cool thing about marbles. We've mentioned this before. Every single pattern has its independent properties. So if I grab this pattern right here, seems like I forgot to cut this one. Right click, cut and sew. Yes, there we go. So I'm just going to grab this guy right here and this guy right here. That was just telling me that some lines were not going all the way through. I don't know why, but now they're working. So these two guys, I'm going to bring their pressure back to 0. And I'm also going to do the same thing with this little bands that we created. So the pressure is going to be going back to 0. Now, if we simulate, it might seem like we're not doing or changing too much things, but as you can see, we are, because we now have this flappy effect right here. We have our band right there, and the inside of this bag is still trying to puff itself out, which is exactly what we want. Now we're going to change or do one more thing to really close this bag and generate the effect of it being filled with sand. And what we're going to do is we're going to change another new physical property on this little bands right here that's going to make them elastic. So if we grab both of these guys and we go to the options, you're going to see that we have this elastic option. I'm going to turn it on. And by turning it on, we get this option right here, the ratio. So the strength of the elastic and the ratio will determine how this element like crunches up and generates this sort of like elastic or compression effect. We can also play around with shrinkage, weft, and warp as we've done before, but in this case, I think elastic is going to work a little bit better. Now, ratio is, I would say, relatively easy to understand. If you can imagine that this thing is going to have X amount of length, the ratio is how much you're going to reduce that length. So from 100%, like the normal length, it's going to go all the way down to 80%. So if we just do this, you're going to see that there's going to be a little bit of a reduction. This thing is like pressing a little bit more. But if we start increasing the ratio quite heavily, we can go really, really heavy to like a 10% ratio. You're going to see how this thing goes really, really, really scrunched up. And now it looks like this bag is completely closed off. So that's it. Pressure and elastic are going to allow us to create these bags. You can use this technique to create trash bags. You can use this to create, again, the sandbags. And from here, there's a couple of options that you have. If you wanted to do a bunker, let's say for a game, one thing that you could do is create 2 or 3 of this guys, which, by the way, very simple to do. We just need to grab this whole thing, Control C, Control B. There we go. We're going to have another bag right here. Grab all of this guys, click, just move it to the side. You can even like rotate it a little bit. And then, of course, if we move it to where we want it to be, let's say right around there, and we simulate, all of this thing is going to just fall out. Now, keep in mind that this simulation is going to be a little bit more tricky because we got more stuff, but you can create, let's say, 2 or 3 of these guys and then just like duplicate them on your engine. Of course, we need to pre-topologize and do all that stuff, but you can just get them in your engine and get them ready to work. Or you can do the whole bunker thing right here, like build it with all of the different like sandbags, change the pressure on some of them. And once you have the whole thing, you can just, do the whole retopology for the whole object, and it's going to be a big bunker that you're going to have as a single asset. So there's multiple ways to do it. Again, the thing that I was mentioning is, since these guys have a very similar pressure, if I do this, the bottom bag, as you can see, it's going to be like squished quite a bit. So if you want to have a more like an overlapped effect, you can go to this ones right here and maybe increase the pressure a little bit. It's going to give it a little bit more force. Or again, at any point, you just like find something that you like. Let's say right around there, just press the spacebar. And if you press the spacebar, the simulation stops. And as long as you retopologize from this point, no one's going to know that this thing's about to fall, right? So yeah, final thing that we can do here is, of course, graph every single element right here and reduce its simulation properties to something like, I don't know, like a 5, which is going to be quite low. we let this run, we let the simulation run a little bit more. And of course, what we're going to see is we're going to see way more wrinkles and a way nicer result at the end. Now, even though this is a simple exercise, I do want you guys to do it because later on, close to the end, when we talk about retopology, we're going to be using this one to show you some of the retopology tools. And well, you're going to have to do it once we get there. So that's pretty much it, my friends. Let's stop the simulation right here. There we go, and look at how nice all of these elements look, the sort of like elastic band. All of this can be baked down into a game-ready asset if we need to, and we get some very clean and pretty wrinkles all over our elements. So with this, my friends, we've pretty much covered all of the essentials that you need to know about Marvelous Designer. We've gone over pretty much all of the physical properties, how to create patterns, internal lines, how to stitch things together. Of course, we're going to be going more and more into the things that we need to create our character, but yeah, this is pretty much it. So make sure to get to this point and make sure you do the exercises, and I'll see you back on the next chapter. Bye-bye.